Alright, so yeah, this Ender-3 Max is quite a decent sized printer. So you will need some room for it, not only for the base, but it is quite tall also. And a lot of that has to do with the print volume, which is 300 by 300 and 320 tall. Also, looking at the front, you guys can see how much this Y channel sticks out past the printer, which is quite interesting. So on the top, we don't have much going on. I do like how clean it is, and we don't have, a spool holder up here sticking up. That's really nice. We do have just normal aluminum channels, 2040s and 2020. Flipping around to the back, you guys can see we got dual Z-axis lead screws, but more importantly, there's a belt between them, which tethers them together. And so if one turns, the other one turns together with it. And this is a great design. And the brackets that hold everything together are plastic, but we do have bearings inside, and it all seems to be pretty well built. So the dual lead screws go all the way down to the motors. The frames here are completely metal, which is very nice. We got the brass bushings on both sides. And on this side, we have quite a few more things here to look at. So there is a filament detector. It is plastic. There is an arrow here that's showing the direction. It's like an LED. And what's great is it does have brass inserts to keep it from getting eaten up. But yeah, our filament will come in here and then out into the all metal extruder. Really much nicer than the plastic ones. The extruder motor underneath. All the connectors are hot glued everywhere. And this is our X-axis motor, which runs the X-axis belt for the movement. Going down from there, we can see our stepper motors on the Z-axis and our spool holder that's actually underneath. And you guys saw how I slid it underneath there earlier. Now, again, you can have it either, like this, which actually, now that I look at it, doesn't even line up correctly. So yeah, I think we're gonna slide it to the back and remove this and put it on the other side. And maybe these wires can be tucked around like this. That would make maybe more sense. But now we could have a lot more straight feed to the filament detector. So looking at the very back, we can see here out of the bed, we got the cable and it is strain relief. And instead of running to the back, it actually runs to the side around. So I'm thinking maybe it is possible to tuck all these wires underneath here. So here we have the Y-axis motor, and this runs the bed. It's our belt here. Can't see anything with this cap enclosure. Not even a cutout, which I wish they would have made, but not a big deal. And over here we can see the Y-axis and stop switch. So looking at the very back, we got a pretty good low profile, and this is our power supply. All the ends of the channels are capped with these little plastic covers. Very nice touch. And if you guys remember, this is where we switched our voltage from the 230 to 115. So make sure you don't forget to do that before you power on the printer. Flipping back to the front, as we go down, we can see these pretty cool red accents. And this is the cover for the X-axis motor. And there's a switch here on the side. And this is the X end stop switch. We got a QR code here for most likely an instruction manual. So from the metal extruder, our filament will flow out into the hot end, and this is what the assembly looks like. It's one cover that is plastic, but it's got this really nice little accent here in red on the front. Now there is a CR touch that's pre-installed, which is great to see. And overall, all the wires are nicely routed and just looks great. So I went ahead and took out one little bolt behind the cover, and it all just comes off. We do have the heat break fan right on the cover. Yeah, you guys can see the new style heat break that Creality is using, which looks quite unique. We do have an axial fan for the parts cooling with the injection plastic duct that blows right underneath the nozzle. We also get silicone sock over the heat block. And yeah, everything looks really nicely built and designed. Going from the hot end this way, we can see this is where our belt tensions. And again, we got the red accents. We got the tensioner here. So yeah, it looks really nice. Quite a tasteful little color of red. And going down to the bed, guys, this is probably, the main attraction here, as we got a very large, you can see my hand here, 300 by 300 glass build plate that's perforated. Let's go ahead. Looks like these just fold out. So this is not meant to be constantly removed, but there's a couple tabs here that open up. And what you do is you just pick it up from the front and then slide it out. You guys can see it's a one large big glass plate, and underneath we have a pretty large aluminum heated slab. So we need to go ahead and peel off this top coating. So yeah, we got a nice Ender logo there, and the bed is perforated so that the coating, let's go ahead and slide it back in. It's just going to go in those clips, and then we're going to lock it in. But yeah, this is kind of like a ultra base style material with little dimples, and whenever the bed heats up, the filament should stick very well, and then when it cools off, the models should just pop off. So yeah, we'll see how well this one works here. So going underneath, you can see that we do have insulation, as that's great to see, as we have a really large glass, so it should help quite a bit with heating up quickly. The frame itself is reasonably thick, and on each corner we have these large adjustable knobs and high quality yellow springs. Let's go and push this out of the way. You guys can see our Y-axis rail, which sticks out quite far past the printer. adjuster here for the Y belt, and it's also in this really cool red color. So over here we got some stickers, QR codes, Creality original filament plans, I don't know what that is all about, and the manufacturing sticker. We can see the name of the printer, power rating of 350 watts, the build size 300 by 320, and the weight of 10.5 kilograms, which is about 22-23 pounds. So right below that we got the micro SD card slot and also a micro USB connection there. So going around this way, here we have a little storage bin. Actually, it looks pretty cool. It got these little ridges here, and the bin does come out completely, and there's actually a little bit of extra storage here right underneath. So yeah, very nice size, and I'm glad they included a little bin, and you can put all your extra little parts in there and tools from this printer, which keeps it organized. And going to the right side, we have our display controller. So this thing is a pretty nice size. Go ahead and peel this protector. Overall, I do like it, but I wish the bezels were a little smaller here around, but the knob feels nice and premium. And so looking at the side of the screen, you guys see where it plugs in and mounts. And going this way, we can see this is our power input port. It is fused, and our on and off switch. And going to the left side of the printer, not too much to see here, just the spool holder and the wires that come out the side. And we are sitting on 4 large squishy rubber feet that should help with noise and vibrations. So yeah, overall a great design, and what pretty much we're used to from the older Ender-3s, just, you know, slightly upgraded here and there. And the Max having a large volume makes this printer definitely quite more useful, and also love the little touches that they added to this Neo series. So for the next part, let's go ahead and power it on, home the printer, make sure everything works, preheat it, and we'll go ahead and level the bed. All right, so I got the printer plugged in here on the side. Let's go ahead and hit the power switch. Okay, so it took a second there to power up, but it booted up really quick. And the screen is looking really nice. So let's use this rotary knob here to choose prepare, and we'll go ahead and preheat PLA to make sure our nozzle and bed are working. And I'll also go to move. Well, I guess it's gonna home itself, so I wanted to home it, but it's homing just by clicking move. So okay, so it looks like the X and the Y works, and now the Z is coming down, and that BL touch there, or CR touch USA, should be our Z axis switch. And there it goes. All right, so yeah, looks like everything is working. And if we look at the screen, we can see that our nozzle is preheating, and our bed is also preheating 41 now. So let's go ahead and level our bed. You're gonna need some kind of sheet of paper. I'm just gonna use a little Post-it note. So the way this is gonna work is we're gonna manually level the bed first to kind of roughly get it pretty flat. And then we're gonna use the automatic bed leveling. And the reason you wanna manually level it still is because the less it has to compensate as it travels, the better it is. So meaning, like, if your bed is way off, you know, as it travels, it has to really start coming down over here and then back up over there. So a lot of up and down movement if you don't have the bed flat. So where we want to go is to move, and then we're going to move the Z axis. You guys can see it's 10 millimeters down to 0. And it's kind of weird that you have to do this, but that's basically where the nozzle is at the bottom. So what we need to do is disable the steppers. Okay, so it is in prepare, and you guys can see there disable steppers. So once we do that, you're gonna cut the whole mechanism loose. So now what we need to do carefully without pushing down on the nozzle too much is go to every corner by pushing it around. And your bed and nozzle should be preheated. And now we can start to manually level the bed. And we're just gonna go corner to corner manually pushing this thing around. So I had to loosen that one quite a bit. This one was kind of already tight. Now we'll push the bed to go to that corner, and now to this one. So yeah, you just want to go around corner to corner at least 3 times or so, because once you change one corner, all the other ones kind of change. So that's why you need to go a few times. It's kind of unfortunate that Creality didn't build in a corner to corner traveling software, because that would sure make it a lot easier moving around. So all right, so I think I am getting closer here as we're just micro adjusting at this point. All right, so we can go ahead and go to the level button here, or this dedicated leveling, and what that's going to do is going to go through the whole bed and probe it, and then save the offsets in memory, so as it's printing it can compensate. All right, so it looks like it takes 5 points across, and it's probably going to be 5 points down. So it looks like we're going to have 25 offset parameters that it can go off, which is really nice to see. Usually it's 16 or so, but because it's a larger bed, it makes sense. All right, so it looks like it's finished. And it goes back to the main menu, and you guys can see that it actually auto dims. So after a little bit of not touching the knob, it dims the display, which is pretty cool. I guess it helps the life of the screen. So yeah, the last thing we need to do is go to prepare and set the Z-axis offset. But actually, before we do that, we have to move it back down to 0 again. Okay, so it is at 0 right now. So let's hit the offset, and we'll see how much we need to go down. Looks like quite a bit on mine here. So I got minus 2.15, looks like it's pretty good for me. So you want it to slightly drag, but because I'm using a really thin sheet, I basically have almost no drag. So simple as that. After you set it, you're pretty much done with the out of bed leveling. So let's go ahead and install some filament. And I got some red that actually matches the theme of the printer. We'll start with that. So yeah, we're gonna go on the spool holder here. Make sure you cut your filament on an angle so you can go through the detector, which by the way, there's a little light there that glows blue. It's gonna go into the extruder, and we're gonna push on the extruder arm and then kind of feed it manually all the way through. And you can maybe see it go through the PTFE tubing. And then it's gonna come out the other end, or the hot end. Disable the steppers. It looks like there was a little bit of yellow in there. So let's go ahead and grab our micro SD card, and it is an 8 gig. It plugs here up front. Looks like upside down. I'm gonna put the adapter in the drawer. And if we go to print, we can see we got a couple of G-codes that are samples that are included on the SD card. So we can print either a rabbit or a boat. Now before we print, let's go ahead and go over this UI. On top we can see it says main, so this is the main page. We got the logo, we got a print, prepare, control, and level. So the print reads the SD card. The prepare is all of your controls like move, disable steppers, out of home, Z-axis offset, preheat, PLA, ABS, cool down, and then language selection. So let's go back. Control is going to be our temperature controls, motion controls, store configuration, rig configuration, and reset configuration. And then also we got info about the printer. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'm just kind of give you an overview real quick here. And then we got our leveling option. And down here we have the nozzle temperature and the target, also the bed temperature and the target underneath, the flow rate, which is at 100, and the extruder at 100, the fan speed, and the Z-axis offset. As we know, we have minus 2.15 right now. And down here we have X, Y, and Z coordinates. So since it's not in process, they're all just kind of blinking. But yeah, it's pretty simple and intuitive UI. And if you ever used the Creality here recently, this is pretty much the same thing.